So I am pleased to be here today. I want to talk about where we started. So we were born in defense logistics, and we optimized air mobility's network virtually, which you'll see shortly, but I want to make sure that we get back to our roots about that. And what we realized was once you optimize a complex network, you can optimize other complex networks. But contested logistics is where we started. Here's some examples of various contested logistics in the news. And we focus on the three things you see at the bottom: readiness, speed, and resiliency. And I apologize in advance, this is going to be a breakneck speed demo. So if you like airplanes, get excited. If airplanes are foreign to you, I'm happy to see you at the booth later. But we are going to be moving because we're not going to run one, but two separate courses of action. So this is ARTIV, and it is our first product. This was built to spec by Air Mobility Command. They have graciously allowed us to use it in public forums to demonstrate our internal models and our optimization. We use several techniques. There's a little bit of machine learning, some combinatorial optimization, and a few other optimized, focused things. But we'll get into how that rolls as we move forward as soon as we are moving, and we are. All right, so this is all built around the joint planning process. Now, the joint planning process for air is what we focused on. Plenty of information to put in, things that commanders say, things about the environment, etc. And what we see here are courses of action. I have a couple pre-scripted. This is 11 separate moves. A full ATACMS unit split into two, Blackhawks, Apaches, the maintenance unit for KC-135, two separate four-ship supports for an F-35, and a movement enablement brigade for the Army. And we are not going one place but two because we're at second front, so I figured a two-front flex would make sense. We are sending 6 of these movements into the Pacific Theater and 5 of them into the European Theater. This is a very quick, great circle route. As you can imagine, there might be some airspace issues if you saw the map. Don't worry, we are able to put in those types of constraints. But first, let's talk about the aircraft we're going to allocate. I just got news from the boss that we're going to have 2 less days of our C-17s, so I adjusted it from 42 to 40. Going to have some C-130s and both freighter and passenger variants of the 747. Now, aviation nerds know the 747-100 is no longer in service. That's fair. That is the planning factor that the client asked for, so a defunct aircraft is on display in our software. Now, in 3 minutes, let's see, not quite there. So we're at the MOG settings. If you're not familiar with that, that's maximum on ground. That's both parking MOG, physical space, and working MOG. Think about material handling, lavatory service, and other fun things that an aircraft gets in its ground incubation. So we're going to double check on these assets. You do have a pre-asset assist we built in if you want a recommendation on how many aircraft to allocate. But now we're going to run an effective routing. I sped this up because we don't need to sit here for 3 minutes and 2 seconds, but if you tap on Jimi Hendrix Purple Haze, when it's done, you will have 1,410 separate flights, all planned out. Many are repositioning, but when they apply to a mission, you see the mission name on the left. And it's nice to see and easy to export this information, but what's really fun is to actually watch the simulation run. We're not going to spend too much time on it because we have to do some extra planning, but white aircraft are commercial, blue aircraft are military, and they're moving. But let's complicate things. Let's add a couple disruptions because we can't always expect airports and airfields to be open, especially in a new contested world. So this is a second course of action within the mission that we already built, and I have pre-scripted a couple of disruptions. I'm calling one Iberian issue and the other Aloha Aloha, because in the first plan, Hawaii and Morón Air Base in Sevilla, Spain, were being heavily utilized, therefore might be interesting to an adversary. And so I have put in those and rerun, and you might have seen 39 seconds. To regenerate, avoiding those 2 major ports, 1,420 missions. So we did have a slight adjustment. And again, here's the new route. You can see in orange, I had this set for a 5-day airfield denial at Hickam and a 4-day airfield denial at Sevilla. Now you'll see the routes don't go away, but the port goes orange when it is held at either risk or completely unable to be utilized. Such was the case for both of these. Now again, the simulation's cool to see, and the Excel spreadsheet of all the missions and the times and the crews are good, but let's go deeper into the decision space and demonstrate all of the ways that things move. So this was deliveries in bar graphs, side-by-side comparison. Logisticians love the sand chart. Oh, and I forgot to mention, this was 62,000 short tons and 17,000 passengers is what we just moved through in 3 minutes and then 39 seconds, respectively. Now, all these various graphics, the details matter to the client, and we can focus on what the client cares for. In the case of Air Mobility Command, it's heavily focused on air crews, flight hours, fuel. They care about the material handling at each of the airports, and they want to know and see and be able to anticipate and plan when the spikes on these force-enabling resources will either be stressed or perhaps there's space to better utilize them. And so this is what is currently living on IL-6. This is fully deployed. I asked some of our leadership if I could show our coolest tricks, and they said no, show them what is currently hanging on the classified network. And so that's where we are. Again, the things you can throttle are your effectiveness. You can also throttle for efficiency if you want to weigh the costs of using less aircraft or taking a little more time. And then there's resilience, where we make sure that we do not create what might be considered a very, very appealing target to the adversary. So we met with US Transcom commander, and we were told, air's interesting, go multimodal. So that's what we did. And this is built out. This is a little bit of a smaller deployment, a couple of Army units deploying out of Port Beaumont and Port Jacksonville, in addition to some aerial ports of embarkation from the States. And so we were able to take all of the public data of the US roads, et cetera. But what was really interesting here is we were able to pull in the European public data as well. Many of you, if you're familiar with European logistics, and I think we've all gotten a little more familiar since circa February 2022 with European logistics, there are restraints, there are tunnels, there are different roads, there's rail gauge changes, et cetera. That is all calculated into this multimodal system. We are cloud native. This infographic shouldn't overwhelm the audience, but it's important to understand that Second Front, why we're here today and why we're on IL-6, they were instrumental in that process. And so thanks to them, we are not just at IL-6, but prior to that, we were at IL-2 and IL-5. And we're able to pull in accounts from various MAGCOMs and services. This was ARTIV by DEFCON AI. Again, that was fast. So if you want to come see me at the booth, we can slow it down, talk details, etc. Thank you very much for your time.